Please. Board of Selectmen's meeting, November 24th, 2014. We have a special guest to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, former Mayor of Abington for the day, and he's going to be coming to us shortly about an Eagle Scout project. Please, Aaron Christian, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good job. First order of business. Oh, actually, we have some public announcements. I'd like to get those out of the way first, if we could. Public announcements. Tom, you want to talk about the football team?
I'd love to talk about the football team because the football team had a resounding victory this past Saturday in the Eastern Mass Final, knocking off a team that had won 26 straight games, Bishop Fenwick. They had a running back that basically was 6'1", 230, and he could run like a deer. And basically Abington just shut them down and was victorious by a score of 29-14. And I've been around the football program for a while, but for residents, this team is very enjoyable, overachieving. Exciting game. It was in the balance, 15-14 late in the third period, and Abington basically came up with 2 touchdowns in the fourth period to put the game away. So congratulations to the Green Wave, the coaches, the kids, the parents. Very exciting. Now, a couple of things. Thanksgiving, the snow will be out of here on Thursday, November 27th, the 104th annual Abington Whitman Hanson Thanksgiving game. For residents that may not know, I think it's the 4th longest in Eastern Mass, and certainly nationally it's up there also. It will be at 10 a.m. at Whitman Hanson, so if you can, show up and support the Green Wave. And then the big news down at the Razor, which is also Gillette Stadium, on December 6th, Saturday, Maureen just got the announcement at 8.
Hot off the press.
Yeah, hot off the press. 8 p.m. The Green Wave will be taking off a team from Central Mass called Northbridge. They won the Western Final this past Saturday. I'm not sure on the ticket prices, but the parking will be free. There'll be no tailgating. But put that in your schedule. December 6th will be when Abington will be competing for the state title. And it's very exciting because Abington is the recipient of 3 Super Bowls, but during that run, never did we play at Gillette Stadium. So this is pretty exciting for the town and the kids. So again, congratulations to the Green Wave football team.
Thank you. Mr. Burbine?
The Abington Friends of Seniors will be hosting their annual Breakfast with Santa at the Abington Senior Center on Saturday, December 13th, from 8 o'clock a.m. until 12 noon. The Senior Center is located at 441 Summer Street in Abington. It's an annual event. I think they've had it about 8 years now, and it's a pancake breakfast, kids, Santa. It's a really nice time, so anybody who's available and wants to bring their children down to see Santa and get their picture taken, that would be good. There'll also be some holiday shopping at the Children's Christmas Shopping Store. And any individuals wishing to volunteer for this event or for more information can contact Diane Keith at 781-749-0949.
Did you want to put in a plug? Aren't you doing cooking that day? Do you think
So that's a reason not to come.
I shouldn't have mentioned that, sorry. I've got a couple things. The Board of Selectmen received a thank you letter from our friend Billy Vignani, just thanking the board for the honor that we bestowed upon him. And I'll share it with you folks. I'll pass it down. He wanted me to read it out loud, but he kind of razzes Mike Franny a little bit and Andy Burbine, so I don't think that's appropriate. So a big thank you from myself and my family cannot be enough. In closing, please read this letter aloud. We all know how honored I felt that night and will continue forever to feel that way. God bless America, our veterans in the town of Abington. So it's a big thank you. It's nice to see those, so thank you. I have one final thing here. I have a shameless plug for a fellow Lion and an elected official here at Abington. and famous author, Michelle Christian Oldham, is holding, and everybody's looking for free things to go to. This is a perfect one to bring the kids on Saturday before the big game, Saturday, December 6th. We're going to celebrate the release of Santa's Mistake. So it's at the South Shore Pottery from 1 to 4. So more information, you can contact me or Michelle. So thank you. Do you folks, before we read the proclamation, do you have anything, upcoming events or anything you want to talk about? That's a no. Okay, good. So,
You want me to remind everybody to take the gizzard in the neck out of the turkey?
we've all learned that lesson.
Yeah, no, it's good to know that.
Good advice. Yeah, write that down.
Been there.
That is.
The Board of Library Trustees and the library staff have asked the Selectmen to read a proclamation and if I'm speaking out of school, they can get up and say something afterwards if they want. But, so we have a proclamation from our board to the Abington Lions, and I'll just Maureen's going to read it, since Andy and myself are Lions. We're going to let the people down the other end of the table who don't get much airtime read the proclamation. Go ahead, Maureen.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, proclamation, the Abington Lions Club, November 24th, 2014. Whereas the Abington Lions Club has been a longtime supporter of the Abington Public Library Services, whereas the Abington Lions Club has donated a family pass to the Abington Public Library for the Children's Museum annually for more than 25 years, whereas the Abington Lions Club has donated funds to the library for books for the blind and for large print books, whereas the Abington Lions Club recently undertook the Herculean task of raising 1 million pennies for the Abington Public Library, whereas the Abington Lions Club kicked off this fundraiser to be known as the Million Penny Project by collecting pennies during the St. Patrick's Day Parade in March, followed by more than 30 local businesses participating in the project by placing bins at their businesses with weekly collections by the project organizers, whereas the Abington Lions Club collected 5,880 pounds of pennies with no donation too small, achieving its goal of over $10,000 for the Abington Public Library, with the goal reached sooner than anticipated. Whereas these funds will be used to update the technology in the Copeland Meeting Room, purchasing iPads for library patrons, and to increase the large print collection of books for sight-impaired readers. Now therefore we, the Abington Board of Selectmen, on behalf of the town of Abington and its residents, recognize the Abington Lions Club and its members for their long-standing tradition in supporting the Abington Public Library and achieving their goal of raising $10,000 in the Million Penny Project. Your hard work, dedication, and commitment are appreciated and recognized by this community with pride. Signed, the Board of Selectmen. Thank you.
Do Henry or Deb want to say anything, or does that pretty much say it all, or? You have to come to the microphone, you know that, if you're going to say something. You've never been short on words, Henry, so.
The only thing I would add is that, the library community is very grateful for this, and we had a wonderful celebration last week at the library. I think we've got a video of that available to the public, and we certainly appreciate the many, many years of support that the Lions have given us, and want to thank them all.
Thank you. Thank you, folks. So we have that proclamation to give the Lions, and we'll have a little photo opportunity. But at the Million Penny Collection, Selectman Mike Franey approached me about something. So, Mike, if you want to take it from there.
And you know if it's coming from me, it could be nothing good, but. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas the Abington Lions Club will celebrate its 60th anniversary next year. Part of the Worldwide Lions Club International, which was founded in 1917, including 46,000 clubs and 1.3 million members throughout 200 countries. Whereas the Abington Lions Club has long been known for its work to improve sight and prevent blindness, donating over $225,000 to the Massachusetts Lion Eye Research Fund. Whereas the Abington Lions Club has provided funds and resources as many departments in the Abington over the years for much needed equipment, as well as donated funds for many community projects. Whereas the Abington Lions Club has long supported the youth of our town, sponsoring baseball, soccer, and shirts and jerseys, and hosting sports banquets. Whereas the Abington Lions Club has undertaken many anticipated yearly events in the town, among them Not So Scary Woods, the Snack Shack at all the summer concerts, the Read Aloud program in the elementary schools, and hosting the annual St. Patrick's Day luncheon for Abington seniors. Whereas the Abington Lions Club is also known for serving the very best hot dogs every election day, packed right next door to the high school gym, and is famous for putting out pancakes breakfast and serving strawberry shortcake. Whereas the Abington Lions Club has always supported the Abington Public Library, and most recently undertaken the completed the Million Penny Project. Now therefore, we, the Abington Board of Selectmen, on behalf of the town and its residents, recognize the Abington Lions Club and its members for their long-standing tradition of outstanding service to this community. Your hard work, dedication, and commitment are appreciated and recognized by this community with pride. We would like to honor you by giving you Abington's Best, the Abington's Lion Club, November 24, 2014. Kenny Coyle, Andy Burbine, Thomas Dion, Maureen Jansen, Mike Franny, congratulations, and thank you guys very much.
This is a very big honor. I know it sounds kind of goofy, but your name's on a plaque downstairs for everyone to see. Congratulations, guys. You guys worked hard. President Lion Ted, would you like to say a few words? Or
No, I'll defer to Lion Phil, who's the chairman of that project.
Lion Phil, would you like to get up and say a few words and thank everybody thank us for giving you this honor?
Just like Mr. Freeney, nothing's good's gonna come out of it.
And just announce.
You're timing me, right?
Just announce who you are and so the camera.
Well, anyway, thanks everyone in Abington. You kept bringing the pennies. We couldn't have done it without so many anonymous donors, and so many people gave us so much money and wanted no credit for it. Twice we got 15,000 pennies, but that's $150. Once at the library, somebody didn't have any pennies. They gave us all the change they had. And Deb Grimmett will remember this. It was $176 in nickels, dimes, and quarters. We bought pennies with those, and we had 3 of our famous unrolling parties, which were not really all that tough. We were surprised that it happened in as short a time as it did, but that's just the generosity and a real community that's in Abington. I eventually hope to live here. I just work here, but there is really something about Abington that's different than a lot of the other towns, and I think everybody knows that. Thanks for your help, everybody.
Lion Phil, those pennies are still on display in the Copeland room, if anybody, right?
They should call the library first to make sure the Copeland room is open, but they're on display until December 3rd, and if you haven't seen them, this could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We're not worried about anybody stealing them. So, well, Deb's guarding the pennies now, so she won't. I think if she sees somebody walking out the door with bags of pennies, she'll probably stop them. But until December 3rd, they can go see them, sure.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Thanks.
I just had a question, Phil. I saw a lot of reports. What was the, I know you got a lot of inquiries about this fundraiser. What was the farthest away, or what was the?
Oh, I know for a fact, there was a gentleman, excuse me, a World War II veteran that could hardly walk from West Brockton. And he's not a Lion, he's never been in the Abington Library, but he read about it, and not only did he bring pennies, he barely got himself inside. We had to get them out of his car. 2 weeks later, he was walking around the neighborhood collecting pennies from his neighbors, and 2 weeks later, he showed up again. People came from Avon, a mother and daughter team came from Duxbury and Kingston. Again, they're not members of any Lions Club. They've never been at the library. They read about it, and then they brought us over 3,000 pennies. We got calls from Quincy, Marshfield, everywhere. They came everywhere, from everywhere.
The Foley Building in Boston did over 40,000 pennies.
I'm sorry?
The Foley Building in Boston, the residents there did over 40,000.
40,000 pennies from the Foley Building in Boston. Yeah.
How about people that wanted to set up a similar fundraiser? Did you get people that called you on how to do it?
No one has called me about that.
Okay.
No, once they saw the weight.
Three
All the
times
bills
is a
are a
little
lot
bit too
easier,
much, huh?
by the way. If we do this again, we're going to do paper money.
Yeah.
Yes, Mike?
Bill, I don't know if you have the information, but I found it quite interesting on the program that you had at the library. It said how much the weight was and if you stacked the pennies.
Yeah.
Do you have any of that information?
It's 5,880 pounds, which is almost 3 tons. The weight of pennies changed over the years, too, and as an old coin collector, I should have known that. Canada actually stopped making pennies a year and a half ago. We did try to separate the Canadian money out as best we could, and a friend of mine has about to make contact with a Lions Club in Alberta, Canada, to hand off the $77.81 to a Lions Club up there. So it wasn't just here. Although that Lions Club owns a country club and golf course, and so we don't. So I don't know how excited they will be about $77,
Yeah.
but I thought it would be really kind of cool to cross the border with that. There are so many stories. I could stand here all night of just the tremendous people that I met. One fellow dropped off pennies, and he literally had tears running down his face. And then he showed up with about, I would say, $11 worth of nickels 3 days later. So, and it's just, it was a lot of fun. I don't want to do it again, but it was a lot of fun. And it's great. The folks at the library, Deb Grimmett was right there alongside us, pushing this, and the library staff too. I most of them don't know my name. I'm the penny guy. So, and actually, that's what I'm known around town. I could be known for worse, like you.
I don't think so.
No? All right, thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A couple things. If you laid the pennies side by side, the million pennies, it would bring you from the library to Nantasket Beach. Okay? I had to compile all those facts. We're going to take a short break so we can get some pictures and, you guys can file out peacefully. But I want to touch upon one thing about the Lions Club, and Andy knows this. This million penny thing was just a small little thing about what we do. We're around town constantly, and if anybody needs, we serve. That's our motto. So if anybody needs anything, please let us know. And we do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and we're everywhere. So I feel honored by this award, so thank you, Mike, for nominating us. Okay, we'll take a short break. Thank you. Okay, meeting's back to order. One public announcement I missed. St. Vincent de Paul Society would like to thank the residents of Abington and the Abington Boy Scouts for another successful Scouting for Food drive. This year, the food pantry was a recipient of 5,800 pounds of pennies. It's the exact same way, so 5,800 pounds of food. So good job, Scouts, and for St. Vincent, great things you guys do. I think we have approval. First item is approval of November 10th, 2014 open session minutes. Anyone like to make that motion, or any problems?
I'd like to make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion?
I guess that-
All in favor? That unanimous, and we got the green light on that one, okay. Appointment of school bargaining committee designee. Is there anybody interested in holding that prestigious position? Actually, I should read the letter first, shouldn't I? Yeah, let me read the letter so people know what we're talking about. Sorry. Oh, thank you. School superintendent, this is, actually, do you want to read it, Mr. Town Manager, since you're, it's from you, or you want me to paraphrase it? You have it?
The school superintendent has informed us that the collective bargaining process is beginning with the Teachers Association and are seeking a representative from the Board of Selectmen. Historically, there has been a member of the board on the negotiating team. And the first executive session is tomorrow night, although that's more organizational. The bargaining won't actually begin until mid-December. So if anybody's interested, tomorrow night would be the first meeting, but if you can't make tomorrow night, the superintendent, because of the understanding the timeliness of this request and your meeting schedule, is happy to meet with whomever you designate to give some background and get you prepared for the process. So that's where we stand.
All right. Anyone have an interest in this?
I was the last designee, so somebody else can take the spot.
All right, if everybody takes one step backward.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to represent us.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of appointing Maureen? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next order of business is Selectmen Policy Review, adoption of proposed amendments to liquor license regulations. Rick, do you want to just tell us what some of the amendments are?
Sure. As you remember, at the last Selectmen's meeting, we distributed the policy that existed since 2001, and there were some changes that have been recommended. Some of it's updating. Mr. Burbine primarily provided input, and they're listed in the memo. I could go through them briefly. Basically, though, it would seem like the one issue that would need to be a policy decision by the board. In one section, 1.09 suggests or states that each member of the board essentially has the ability to inspect on behalf of the board. It's not extremely clear on what the intent is, but that would be you could certainly read the policy that way. And the question that was raised is whether or not that's really what the board's intent is, or if it is your intent to rely upon the normal authorized representatives of the board by vote. So it's really a policy decision of the board as to how you want to handle that particular issue. My opinion, and again, feel free to, if any board member wants to chime in, that to me would be the substantive issue that would need to be decided. The other issues are, again, I think more timeliness, updating from prior years. It's slightly antiquated, so.
Okay, does anybody have anything to add, or,
Well, just on that point, it isn't clear, but should it be under definitions, the authorized agents? When you get into the bowels of this, it talks about the police chief. I think it talks about the building agent. I'm not sure if it talks about the health agent, but it seems to me those three, and maybe yourself, would be the ones that, I don't know, maybe the fire too, but I don't know, just speaking as one member, I don't think the intent is to have selectmen coming in,
No, I.
doing any inspections at all.
And I'm
so-
sure that's never happened, but I think if, again, if you look at the language, it does suggest that.
Yeah,
It does.
I think he can remove that by just putting in the definitions, the authorized agents.
All right, and that would be fine, be happy to work up a definition.
Couldn't we just strike out by members of the licensing authority and just leave in its duly authorized agents, and then we can designate agents as they come
Yeah,
and go?
that's fine.
That's fine, and we can,
Don't have to be
again,
as specific as.
Right.
Right, then you have a little more flexibility. too.
Right, because it may be a time we want to send the building inspector or someone else in there, so.
and by statute, the police department, police officials are already act as authorized agents of the board. So beyond that, again, it would be whomever you would so designate, but we could do that, keep it simple for now.
Yeah.
But those are the only issues that were raised by members of the board, but again, that's the only substantive one I think you need to make a decision on.
This isn't substantive, but I did notice, you might want to put page numbers on each page. I just have a habit of dropping these things and try to get them back into order. It's a little bit problematic.
Do we need to vote on?
The other one,
okay.
Rick, was the, adding a statement in the policy itself requiring that upon grants of the licenses
Good, that's
for annual renewal, each license holder should acknowledge receipt of the policy, just so everybody knows that the policy is the policy, and if it changes, they're updated on a yearly basis.
right. And we can start, we wouldn't be able to start that, obviously, for this coming renewal,
Yeah.
but for the following renewal, we would be happy to do that. In fact, we could probably, working with Wayne, find a convenient way to perhaps do this all, electronically, too, so gives us time to work out the best way to do that.
In any,
But if that's a statement in the policy, I think we certainly will incorporate that. That's a,
in any changes we make, we'll go to town council just to look at? Is that the way it works, or?
well, we certainly could send the policy to town council. I don't know that anything here is so substantive that you'd want to spend legal dollars on it, but it's completely up to you. I mean, we
Well,
could
they-
certainly
they-
just
they-
isolate the changes and just make sure we get at least a verbal
Okay.
okay from council on the specific changes.
Does the board want to act on the suggestions that are in italics on the,
I'd make that motion, along with the suggestion that we take out in that 109A, members of the licensing authority.
I'll second that.
all right, we have a motion made and seconded to approve these suggestions to changing the policy slightly.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous vote.
And we'll draft up the final policy then and distribute it, and we'll certainly work with Ken to find out which policy we're going to put in front of you next.
Thanks for reading.
All right, I know at the meeting, we talked about doing a survey of some local towns, the fees, just to see if we're in line or if we're out of whack. And I think we have a page that compares us to Pembroke, Whitman, Hanson, Norwell, Rockland, West Bridgewater, Holbrook, Bridgewater. It also has averages. In this average, is Abington's number figured in the average?
Yes, it is.
Yes, okay.
It is.
You guys probably looked at it longer than we have. Do you have any suggestions, or do you see anything that looks out of whack? I see the alcohol retail
Yeah.
pretty much looks a lot lower than everybody else.
I would say, first of all, for the coming year, it's irrelevant in terms of, we've already received the application fees, so this is more perspective going forward. What is it that for new licenses, or for the 2016 renewals? And, I don't know if the board wants to choose a percentile you want to be in, or if you just want to review these on a regular basis. Obviously, the kind of money we're talking about isn't the kind of money that balances the budget, but it's, if it's a matter of, trying to stay, in the same ballpark with some of the other communities, I guess that's philosophically a question the board's going to have to make, but I know sometimes just determining, if you want to be in a particular percentile, 50th percentile, 75th percentile, whatever that might be.
And this is something that I asked you folks to do. I mean, we didn't really,
No,
we
and
didn't really discuss it.
I
so-
don't even expect a vote, but this is really more just putting something out there for the first time for you to look at and give some thought to. This is, certainly if you want to take a vote, we're more than happy to move forward, but I wouldn't expect it tonight.
But we are kind of in the lower, except for Whitman, we're in pretty, the lower portion, so I don't know if the board wants to act upon this, or I'd hate to forget about it. That's.
Oh, put it, I would, if you don't want to, I wouldn't want to do it tonight.
No.
Just, but if you want to put it on an agenda for, another
I mean, this.
2 months or something, and for a review, or?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Tom?
The two questions I had, I thought I saw something in the packet that showed the number in each of these categories that we're issuing in town. All alcoholic club, like how many licenses are involved? Because you did make the statement it's not going to balance the budget. I mean, that would be one question I'd want to know is, if you increased it 10%,
Okay, got it.
I think it was
What
part of
we
the
will do
minutes
then-
from the
it was, wasn't it?
previous minute.
Yeah.
We asked a couple of those questions.
We'll be
Right.
happy to add that to the spreadsheet.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Just so it's all in one place.
Yeah.
And the other question was, it's nice to compare what other towns are doing, but I guess I'm curious, and I didn't have a chance today to go on and look, to see what's happening in the market or industry. Are liquor sales up? I mean, is the value of a license what it was 10 years ago? I mean, I get the sense that liquor sales are sort of going sideways, or, certain categories are up, certain aren't, but it just seems to me it would be nice to kind of balance that if we're going to go up, to see if these businesses are hurting, is business good, does it warrant, the increase? I mean, I don't see a big, deal here, but it just seems to me that,
Sure.
you want to take a look, at least, what might be happening in the industry. I don't know if you see that,
Yeah, no, I look at sales are up, but,
yeah,
that, I have a lot to do with that myself. but no,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. This is just something that we do, I was on the Board of Health, and I just don't want to leave any money on the table. I mean, I don't want to gouge anyone either, but I mean, if there's some money to be had, not from the taxpayers of Abington, other ways, and that's, if we're losing, if we're dropping the ball on some of these, that was the big thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it actually does look like, on some of the categories,
comparative.
I think we're a little low, actually.
Yeah.
But,
That's not a bad thing, though.
Yeah.
Being low is not a bad
I mean,
thing.
it's
No,
like
it's
you say,
not,
It's
but,
a matter of,
And-
where do you want to be? Do you wanna
Exactly.
be-
Right,
It's
yeah.
no right or wrong. Where do you want to be?
I wanna
But
be-
I think, Tom, I'd like to see in each category how many there are.
We'll fill that in and
Yeah.
redistribute it in
Okay.
several days.
That would be helpful, I think.
Town, anything else on the discussion?
I'm prepared to vote tonight, because I would vote to leave it the way it is, but I understand that, but just a couple things. What do you actually get for the money? And we're talking about charging the restaurant or something $1,000. What do you really get? Because you know the way I feel about, I think we've gone crazy is with the regulations and fees and with the town and the Commonwealth and everybody is charging these businesses. And, I'm looking at that and it's $1,000, a lot of money. And, I understand we might be a little bit low, but I also understand we just imposed a, controversial meals tax that's been very helpful to this board. And a lot of these people are paying that, or not paying it, but they're customers, so. I mean, that's just something, and I'm a little bit frustrated by what's going on, not just with this, but in a lot of permitting process that's happening to the residents and the people. It's just, it does seem like a lot. So anyways, that's my spiel, I'm sorry.
Did you want to answer to that question, or you also?
Yeah, I would like to know what we really get, yeah. What do they get? I mean, you know what, when we charge...
You mean the license holder, Mike? What does a license holder get as a result of paying?
Yeah, I mean, he gets the right to serve alcohol. You know what I mean? If you get a building permit, you get...
But there's a cost to
inspections.
the town associated with that, too. I mean, we have to send all our inspectors up there, and the police and the fire, to go visit these places, and there's
It's not-
paperwork.
Doesn't come close to this.
I don't know.
I mean, don't we do that just as a common vehicular's license anyways, a common vic?
Yep, and they get charged for
Do
those,
the
too.
same thing. Do they pay for that license?
They, yes.
It's a separate licensing.
A separate license? And I mean, it's just, I'm just,
Well,
I know businesses
I guess,
are under an awful burden from the federal government and the state right now. an awful burden, and it doesn't get any better. It just seems to be getting worse. And, you know, I don't know what other fees we pay. I know, like, even on our inspectors, sometimes a little bit, we used to pay the inspectors an hourly rate, and now we pay them by inspection. So if you go and inspect something, and you're not happy with it, you get paid to come back. Now, I'm not accusing anybody, but to me, that just doesn't set right. You know, it just, you could just,
All right.
you know, but,
A different issue, just
well, yeah,
for the
it's
sake
just-
of discussion, that in this coming budget process, in fact, we had discussion about that today, how we can, maybe next year might be a good time to move back to the prior system of, as opposed to what you suggested, Mr. Franny. But I think you know, in terms of, you know, what services do you get, there are some businesses, you know, that have different requirements. I mean, there's additional, perhaps, public safety requirements. The reality is that these are regulated businesses, and you're effectively trying to recoup the funds for your obligation to regulate them. I mean, that's the reality of it. So, over and above what you know, the business next door might cost the town in terms of services. So, and in, you know, the reality is, you know, when you have a local liquor license of some sort, particularly a package store, but that's, you know, there's a I don't know how I want to say this. There's a privilege there. There's an opportunity, you know, for generating income that doesn't exist elsewhere. So, again, it's a lot of this really is philosophical policy issues, as opposed to either right or wrong. It's just a matter of what do you think is right, and where do you want to be? It's that simple. And
that's fine.
we follow your direction.
Thank you.
Town manager's report.
Few things, Mr. Chairman. Number one, Griffin's Dairy, last Friday, a week ago Friday, we did open the bids for the demolition of the house and the barn. And we, this past week, we spent several days checking references of the low bidder. And the end of the week, we actually sent out a draft contract, the standard contract that we have put together by town council to contract for that demolition. So, we certainly hope that within a few business days that will be solidified, but we are fortunately within the budgetary confines of the appropriation of town meeting, so that's always a huge relief when bids come in where you actually hoped they would. So we'll keep you informed, but we hope, as you know, I know Thanksgiving's going to, you know, make people's schedules a little bit different, but hopefully within this coming week we'll have some contract in place with a low bidder, who has done several public projects, very familiar with public bidding and prevailing wages, et cetera. So,
Is it a local company?
but the low bidder currently, it's Speakman Excavating in Harwich.
Harwich, huh?
Yes.
Wow.
And again, there's, I think we had 9 bids. I believe 5 of them were within the appropriation that we have. So, presuming, you know, if we weren't able to solidify a contract, but I don't suspect that's going to be the case, because the draft contract's part of the bid process. You know, when you bid, what the contract is, you're going to be required to sign. So, but they've done significant public work, so we, hopefully, that will be solidified this week. And as I indicated in prior weeks, our budget process is in the early stages, and this week, just to make sure that we ruin everybody's Thanksgiving around here. We're spending the next, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday meeting with just about all of our departments internally to get their budget presentations and have just internal discussions on their budget proposals. So hopefully with the goal of putting out a budget draft by December 15th as per the charter. So I'm going to skip to the bottom before I finish, but Representative Deal had asked to have a meeting with some of our local town administrators regarding any legislative goals for the coming year. That meeting, we were subsequently asked to host that meeting, which is won't need a big room for that, obviously, but so that's going to be at 5 o'clock on December 3rd, and because we're hosting, I'll certainly take the liberty of inviting any member or members of the board who want to attend that. It's going to be informal. and again, just an idea of what's important in the various communities for this coming legislative year. So the only thing I would ask is if people are able to, do want to come, if you could let me know, because obviously we want to avoid a quorum, but if any member or members can make it, we'd love to have you. And then finally, the reason why we've had to look at Doug's picture,
Can I
I'm
ask one
sorry.
question just before you go on?
Sure.
Just having mentioned the budget process and then also the meeting with Representative Deal, have you heard there's some talk about 9C cuts, have you heard anything?
Yeah, well, what we know is that the Speaker of the House, DeLeo, is not going to bring that to the floor of the House. So the proposal by the governor is effectively dead on arrival in terms of, that's the one portion of the budget that he needs legislative approval to cut. He has the ability to make reductions within the state budget itself, state agencies, but not with regard to local aid without the approval of the legislature. So the Speaker of the House has indicated his opposition, and that is not an issue that's going to be brought to the House as we understand it today. So that's good news for FY15, but we're not it's too early to know how that bodes for FY16. So, seems like it's the same old.
Same old, same old.
Tom?
Just to get on my soapbox from last year, will you publish some sort of a budget timeline? Again, you mentioned the charter by December 15th, but I think the annual town meeting, you know, what it would take to basically bring the budget before an annual town meeting on April, 4th, or whenever it is, the first Monday. And again, the rationale there is that you've got a slate of, you know, representatives, elected officials that have prepared the budget, as opposed to letting it lapse after the town election, the end of April. I don't know, there's mitigating circumstances, but
We can
I don't know, I mean,
Well, we can circulate a draft schedule. I know last year we talked about trying to do budget discussions and, a Saturday in, in February, so that a lot of that administrative work isn't the issue. It's people's time and energy, the budget hearings that the Selectmen and the Finance Committee have had that take up night after night to try to, if we can move that into, try to make that a little more timely, that allows a little more room for this discussion and before decisions
Right.
have to be made. And of course, as well as anybody, ultimately, collectively, there's going to have to be a decision as to whether or not if it's worth waiting for additional information from Commonwealth before final decisions are made. But we can certainly put out a draft schedule that would, I'm maybe back up a step. We have spoken to the Financial Officers Group, had a meeting with the chairman of the Finance Committee and discussed some parameters, which is why we're starting a little bit earlier as it is right now. But we will put out a draft schedule for you in the
I'd
next week or
appreciate it.
so. And finally, as I started to say before, the reason why we've had to look at Mr. Ulwick's persona all evening is this is one of the nicer projects we have going on after a little bit of a delay, is the Memorial Arch. And Doug is our project manager, and he did not expect to be on the screen at a Selectmen's meeting, but he did a before and after photo, and this is before and after the masonry work. There is still some masonry to be, some fine detail work to be dealt with in the masonry, but it's almost completed. Next spring, the eagle and the other bronze figures will be restored, but it is really a fairly stark contrast, and so we thought, was suggested by Tom that we show the public. We haven't been encouraging people to be going down there to watch this work with all the staging and the work site. So while the staging is gone now, and certainly encourage people to go, enjoy the scenery, this is where we stand today. So
so when was this originally constructed? Do we know?
It was the 200th anniversary of the town,
It was, okay.
1912.
It's only 100, isn't it?
Well, the town was 1712 to 1912 would be 200.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's 100 years.
gonna say, wait a
100
minute.
years ago.
Math isn't too good. Forget about that budget. Put that out to June or whatever, who cares? Yeah.
We had hoped to, as you know, to get the bronze work done this year, this fall, but the weather requirements just aren't worth taking that risk if you put the money you're spending. So the springtime will be when that's done, and we've already started internally started kicking around some possible time frame for some dedication ceremony, which we'll eventually be sharing with everybody as some getting your ideas.
There's also an issue after this project's done about the railings on the bridge and that sort of stuff, too. I mean, they're in some serious
that's a
disrepair,
nuisance.
so
Serious, not just the railings.
I don't know, maybe we can talk to, maybe Doug can propose something, or maybe he can come up with some idea or tell us what the needs are. Does that make sense? I mean, we hate to see this look so nice, and then the bridge, my understanding, it's gonna be, could be dangerous, too. There's some issues where there's some rotting things on the bridge, so.
Well, I think the highway department has dealt with safety issues, but the aesthetics,
Yeah.
no question. So,
Right.
that's a different project.
Yeah, as far as this project goes, that came in within budget and all, and,
With the donation by the Tricentennial Committee.
That's correct.
Like,
That's
Yeah.
correct.
it is within budget. In addition, we were able to save some funds. The company that ultimately was the successful bidder for the bronze work had been the initial project manager, and that contract's been terminated, and we're paying Ulwick Associates much, much less than we were paying for initially. So there's a little bit of a buffer. So since the donation from the Tricentennial Committee, that the project is on budget, but it's close.
thank you.
And that's all I have.
Any questions for Rick? Yeah, Tom?
I just want, Rick, with the forecast of some inclement weather, I'm not sure if we're going to get hit hard here. Is there anything residents need to know, or are we set to go? I think the storm's supposed to hit tomorrow, Wednesday night, or Wednesday during the day. One thing that comes to mind is, don't we have a parking policy as far as off the street from certain dates? And
I've decided we're not getting snow, Mr.
beautiful.
No, but yes, there are restrictions, and but they are on the website.
Yeah.
We will make sure that we take a look again tomorrow, that they're up to date and accurate. So, but I don't feel, without going and reading them myself, I don't
Yeah.
want to be giving people bad information.
But it might be nice for the police. I know a lot of people subscribe to that Nexel, is that what it is?
Yes.
But it might be nice for the police to put out just a reminder of.
We'll
You know.
suggest that to the police and fire
Right.
chiefs.
The other question I had is, and again, I think it's been a success to the town, both from a pickup viewpoint and certainly financially, but the new trash collection system. For a while there, we were getting reports periodically, quarterly, on the volume of trash collection versus what was projected. I don't know if that's something that,
I'm sure the Board of Health can provide that without
Yeah,
a
we can,
problem.
we'll be happy to get you an update. We're in the process now of considering whether or not we're going out to bid again, or we can extend the contract 1 year under the procurement laws without having to bid it again.
yeah,
And right now, the consideration, one of the things, my major consideration is to try, maybe extend it for the 1 year we have available. That allows us time to do a very in-depth RFP for next year. But it also gives us a little more time to see the performance of Republic, the company that took over for WSI. So,
right.
so those are, some of the considerations at the moment. But that current contract does expire June 30th, so fairly soon, we'll have to turn our attention to whether or not we want to just extend it under the same terms and conditions for 1 more year. But we'll be happy to get you some historical data on the success of the recycling program, because I believe the numbers just, we've gone from about $1.2 million 3 or 4 years ago to less than $800,000, and that's predominantly, I would assume, volume. That's really where the big money is. It's in disposal. So, that's been a success.
The other little
Wish I
piece,
could take credit for it, but I can't. It was a success.
and again, I think that is significant savings. It is a needle mover. The other thing is, when this was put forward, we're supposed to get some sort of a reimbursement for recycling. I don't know if that ever materialized, or is that market dried up, or? Because certainly, people I know have become very good recyclers now. I mean, I go out and walk, and typically those recycling bins are full, week in, week out. But I don't know if the market, where everybody's doing it, if it's changed, and whether there's any revenue coming back into the town.
All right. I will be happy to get the board an update on that within the next week or two, if that's sufficient.
Yeah.
The statistics over the last couple of years.
Thank you.
Item 4 on your manager's report, we're going to hold off on that until you can get us some information?
Yes,
Okay.
it's a project that's come to our attention. I don't know much about it. I know there's a meeting tonight with the Conservation Commission, and this is the first, I think, public discussion that, the proponent of the project, I think we're all, historically, I'm a little shy about getting involved in the business of permitting authorities of the town that have independent permitting authority without having better knowledge of what the proposal is. So when the proponent provides us with a written summary, we can review from there what.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea,
That's
because,
the,
there's going to be some questions asked about it, so the more we know, the better off.
Right.
Okay.
So, and the goal of the proponent is to do that, but we want to make sure we do it in a way that's respectful of the process and doesn't compromise the town's permitting authorities.
Does anybody else have anything else they want to talk about? Mike?
Yeah, just a couple things. A couple meetings ago, we had some openings on some committees, and then we chose not to make any announcements to them because we're going to review what committees are actually active. There seems like there's some that we might not need anymore instead of carrying that. So I don't know where we are with that, if we might want to consider that at one of our next meetings and, talk about reducing the numbers or.
Yeah, we did research that, actually. We checked with each committee, and it came back that they wanted the committees to remain. For instance, Cable Advisory, because if the licenses are coming up again for renewal, they would want that committee in place.
Okay.
So I did go through each one and check, and they were all viable. There's only about 4 or 5,
Okay.
so we did that because you had mentioned it at a meeting.
Yeah, it's just
so.
that I've never really, the Cable Advisory might be,
Yeah.
there was like a housing partnership and different things like that.
The Housing Partnership, has met.
I've never known them to meet.
They do, actually,
Okay.
and they've actually taken a lot of votes on different things
Okay.
with the planning board. I forget the exact number now, but they
that's
were
fine.
actually, I was surprised, because I didn't even know, but they're very active, so that was surprising.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
And
so we
then
did
we'll-
check into that, and so.
Then we should announce
Status quo.
what the openings are, and then maybe
on the
our next meeting,
website.
Mr. Chairman, and
Well, why don't we post these openings right up there in bold letters on the front of the website, and we'll announce it now, there's some openings, please go to the website, and we'll put a date on there as to when, and we'll take applications to a certain date.
Yeah,
Fine.
it's because it's on there now,
And I
on the main
think,
page.
and I think Andy wants to talk about another opening, correct?
No, just to follow up on what you were saying, Dory, do these committees that we don't really know if they were active or not, they are, but do they submit annual reports for the town meeting, for the town
For
report?
the town report.
Do they, or do you know?
The cable, yes, they do.
The housing partnership and all?
Yep,
Because if they
yep.
don't, then maybe that's something we should make sure they do, just so we know what
absolutely
they have
do.
been doing throughout the year.
Yep. Yeah, they do, yeah.
Okay.
Good point.
All right, hold on a second, Maureen?
I was saying, along those lines too, do they provide minutes? I mean, I know there was some talk some meetings ago about making sure, maybe auditing the different committees that are supposed to be submitting minutes. Something, if we could look into that too. See if everybody's up to date on their minute submissions.
Yeah, we did have a conversation about that.
we
and-
did have Victorian website, and we did have a conversation, try to come up with something that's, it seems like the committees, and I've gone through the committees that don't have a paid correspondence
Administrator or something.
administrator or whatever, it's very difficult for them to do what they do and volunteer their time, come into the meetings and investigation, and then get up on the minutes according to the law. I think the law is very, it puts an awful burden on them. If you followed every aspect of the law, I mean, it would take you hours to get the minutes done. So, but we did have a conversation about that, so.
You all set, Mike?
No.
Go ahead.
Since we discussed with the Griffin's Dairy in the playing fields, I've got quite a bit of interest in that. And, I'm a little bit lost. Where are we with that? what's our
I was
intent?
actually going to bring that up right now to plan for that meeting, because it's going to be, is that our next meeting, or is there a meeting before that?
That is the meeting, that is on the 15th.
All right,
Shows the meeting on the...
right, do we have another meeting before that, or that's our next meeting? We do, okay.
The
all right.
8th, and then you have a special meeting on the 15th.
What I would like to see happen is that anybody that wants to speak at that meeting, we know ahead of time, we invite them, we have an agenda planned, you know, so that, so there's not, so it's organized chaos, it's not completely a cluster,
Right.
it'll be organized chaos, so.
Right, is the Park and Rec Commission going to be invited to that meeting?
They were invited, right, Andy? I think you were-
Well, I went to their meeting the other night on an unrelated issue with the Charter Review Committee and told them about it, but maybe if you could just also get in touch with them, just to let them know, again, that they'd be invited.
Yeah, I'd almost be like curious to see, I understand the passion that's going into doing Griffin's Dairy, and I think we all have some concerns. We all want to do what's right for the youth and the groups, there's no doubt about that, but I'd also be interested in knowing, what if you didn't have Griffin's Dairy? What would be the alternative plan? What's Plan A and Plan B? You know, where would they be able to function? You know, whether it be behind a folio or whatever, see what was available. If in Park and Rec, or whoever assigns the fields had any idea of what they would put forward. So, just curiosity. And I understand, Andy, you have some maps and stuff.
I do, yep, I brought them tonight, actually, so you can take a look at them afterwards if you want. yeah.
That's good. Thank you, Kenny.
And also at that meeting, I'm going to have the Griffin's Dairy original committee, what their recommendation was too, so that I'll get that to the board ahead of time, so you know what.
The one from long ago.
Long ago. Exactly.
Cover.
Yeah. Yes, the cow on the cover. That was high-tech back
It
then.
was,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah,
I
thank
remember
you.
it. It was impressive.
It wasn't impressive, but it was
Back
high-tech.
then it was.
Yeah, maybe. So. Used a lot of color ink in that cow. Anything else? Anybody have anything?
Well, there is an opening on the sewer commission also, maybe you can just announce that, just so.
Yes, that's posted as well on the website, but yes.
When would, if anybody wants to apply, when would they have to have their application in by?
Yeah, but the 10 days of the posting, which was last week, and the appointment, if we do get an applicant, would be made jointly at your last meeting in December with the Board of Sewer Commissioners.
And they'd make application to the town
To the
manager's
town
office.
manager's office.
Okay, so please check the website. There's some openings on boards, some of them more strenuous than others, but please, if you want to get involved, go to the website, and if that doesn't work, just call the town hall and want to talk to Dory or Rick and say, I'm interested in serving. So I had the opportunity yesterday of joining two of my colleagues here at the table for an Eagle Scout ceremony, and I'd never been to one. It was really a neat thing. It was a young man, Matt Murphy, became an Eagle Scout, and it was a nice thing, and it was an honor to be invited, and I read a proclamation from the board, so like I said, it's the first one, and it's pretty, I actually was in the Boy Scouts, that same troop, and I didn't even get close to becoming an Eagle, so it's a lot of work. He had 41 merit badges, I think I had 4, so, and one of them was cooking, as you can tell, so. Anything else, the board, have anything to say? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Just to
Green's
wish the
good, you ever read
residents-
the Bob? Yes, Mike?
Wish the residents a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yes.
Happy
Okay,
Thanksgiving.
thank you.
yeah.
And can we have a close-up on Mike's tie as we're fading out? Thank you. All right, a motion?
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
So
I made the motion, you want another
Second.
second?
I'll second.
Second.
All right,
All in
second
favor?
that.
Second that.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you. Good night.
Thank
Thanks.
you.